Hello, I'm Chef Vernetta, and thank you all for having me or joining me this morning. I am the owner of A Cook For You Catering Services. I have been a chef now since 2006, so I'm definitely honored to be able to join you all this morning and show you a heart healthy recipe for breakfast. So sometimes with breakfast, we think about some of our traditional items that we like, our bacon, our grits, our eggs, our sausage, and those things are okay for breakfast, but this is a healthier option, and you can use some of the stuff that you already have inside of your refrigerator. So this morning, I am going to make a chicken and broccoli quiche. So the thing about quiche is very old school, but it's making a comeback, and it's something that you can do ahead of time and something that's really good for meal prepping. So if you don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen, you can make a quiche and you can have it for a couple of days for your breakfast. And the fun thing about it is you can add whatever you like to it. So today I'm going to do chicken and broccoli. So some of the ingredients that I have for the quiche is some veggies. So I have some peppers and some celery. I'm not going to add the peppers and celery to this quiche, but I just wanted to show you all some different options that you can use to add to your quiche. This is something that I prepped on Sunday just for my snack. So if you have, like I said with the quiche, if you have stuff in the refrigerator that you would like to use, you can throw it in there and it will be fine. So I have some yellow peppers and some orange peppers and some celery. And then I have broccoli, fresh broccoli, which is what we're going to add to our quiche. I have my eggs, of course, that we're going to add. A cup of shredded cheese. You all can see with the light. And then I have a cup of milk. I have grilled chicken breasts that I grilled last night. And I have a store-bought pie crust. So it's totally up to you. If you want to make your pie crust from scratch, you can. If you want to do it crustless, you can. That's the thing with the quiche. You can add as many veggies as you like. You can add as much meat as you like to it to have a more protein-rich quiche for breakfast. Also, if you don't do eggs or dairy, you don't have to. You can do an egg substitute. You don't have to add cheese to it. It's totally up to you. You can do low sodium cheese as well to watch your salt intake with this dish, because we know cheese has a lot of salt in it anyway. So cutting back on the salt also helps with our heart health. For me personally, I follow a low sodium diet because I do unfortunately suffer from high blood pressure, and I've changed my diet over the years. And if you all can't tell from the video, I am 4 feet 9 inches, and so I'm 4 feet 9 tall, and at my heaviest weight I was 250 pounds. So just making some dietary changes, cutting out my salt, following a low carb diet. Not a no carb diet, but a low carb diet. I've been able to bring my weight down to 178. So, and that took a couple of years of just eating right and changing how I eat. As a chef, I just launched a seasoning line, a no salt seasoning line. It started out with to help a friend, but it's also been able for me to help other people to deal with high blood pressure. So. Okay, so now we are going to start our quiche, and what I did was pan the camera down so you all can see what I'm doing. I just have a 9-inch pie pan that I've sprayed, and I am going to take our pie crust and add it to the pan. And once again, if you're not going to add crust to it, you would skip this, but you would still like to go ahead and grease your pan so when you pour the eggs in, they won't stick. So I'm going to get this open, and we're just going to roll it out so that we can lay it in our pie dish. So we're just going to lay it here and just kind of press it out. And I've also preheated the oven to 350 degrees so that once we get our quiche in, the oven will be nice and hot. So we have our pie dish that we have put our crust in, and I'm going to set that aside. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut our broccoli. So because it's fresh broccoli, it's in some larger pieces, and we want to make sure that we just have some smaller pieces inside of our quiche. And we probably won't use all of this, but I'm just going to trim it up and make the pieces a little bit smaller. So to do that, I have the piece of broccoli here. I'm going to cut it so you all can see. I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm just going to kind of cut it in a diagonal. So we want pieces about this big to make sure, I'm going to pull my gloves on tight, to make sure that we don't have so many large pieces. So cut it in half, and if it's too big, if the half is too big, then you will cut it in fours. And you're basically taking most of the stem off so that you just have the head of the broccoli. So I'm gonna cut this here off. And this is a really big piece, so I'm gonna cut most of that off, cut it in half, quarter, take a lot of that stem off. And we're basically just trimming up our broccoli so that we don't have large pieces inside of our quiche. And I like to make sure with my vegetables that I leave them al dente so that they have a little crunch to it, because even though we're gonna saute these on the stove, they are still going to cook inside of the quiche. So we don't want it to become mushy, for lack of a better term. We want our veggies to still have a nice bite to them for the quiche. So we're just trimming it up. And I'm going to trim that up as well. And that might be, if you all can see, this may be enough for us for our quiche. And I'm going to clean up our cutting board. We lost the guy, but I'm going to clean up our cutting board a little bit. So we have our broccoli chopped, and I put it inside of a bowl. And I always like to keep a bowl close by when I'm cooking so that I can put my ingredients in it, or also sometimes depending on what I'm cutting, I may call it my trash bowl so that it just makes for easy cleanup. Now I said I wasn't going to add the peppers to the quiche, but I'm going to because I like peppers. So I'm going to chop up some of them and add them. So I already had them cut into strips because they were my snack. So I'm going to just give them a nice dice. So just give them a quick chop, and you can add as many peppers that you like or don't like. So I have less than half a cup that I'm going to add. So I'm just going to put that right in the bowl with the broccoli so that it will all cook together. So I've added the peppers, and then I'm going to dice the chicken breast. So with the chicken breast, I'm going to just cut it in strips. And I'm going to give it a medium or a fine dice to make sure that we don't have like big chunks inside of our quiche. So we have our chicken. I'm going to add that to the bowl as well. And I have 2 chicken breasts. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use that one also. And that's the thing about cooking, like, you know, sometimes people feel like it's so hard, but cooking should be fun. You should try new things. And if you try something and it doesn't work out the first time, try it again. And I like to promote dishes that you can prep ahead of time because it just makes it easier and you don't have to spend as much time in the kitchen if you have this prepped ahead of time. So if you notice, so like I prepped my veggies on Sunday and they were in the refrigerator. So I'm now using them on Tuesday to make a quiche. So sometimes you can do things like that, stuff that you just have on hand to use to make a dish. And so we have our chicken. And if you look at the bowl, I mean, it's already not mixed together and it looks really good already. You have your diced grilled chicken, your peppers, and your broccoli. You know, when we're eating to live, the more colorful it is when we shop on the outside of the grocery store. So when I say the outside aisles of the grocery store. So you notice when you go inside the grocery store and you go around the outside, you have your meats, you have your fresh produce, you have a lot of the good stuff. Once you get inside those aisles, that's where you find the chips and the snacks and just some of the stuff that is not good for us, but it's okay in moderation. So I just like to say, whenever you're, you know, eating to live or eating to change your habits, you know, look for stuff that is fresh and colorful to add to your dish. So once again, we have our grilled chicken, our peppers, and our broccoli. We are going to go to the stove and we're going to saute that to add to our quiche. Now we're over at the stove and we're going to go ahead and saute our veggies and our chicken together. Everything is pretty much done. As far as the chicken, the broccoli, and the peppers, we don't want them to get too soft, so we're just going to cook them a little bit. And at this point, I'm going to add some olive oil. You can use butter, but I'm going to use olive oil, and I'm just going to use a little bit of olive oil just to coat the bottom of our pan. I have our pan set to medium. I'm going to turn it up. I had it on low, but I turned it to medium. We're going to let it heat up a little bit. We're going to put everything in the bowl in the inside. We're going to put everything in the bowl inside the pan, and then we're going to saute it, and then we'll mix up our eggs, our seasoning, our milk, and our cheese to put the quiche together. And on the video, you know, the video is always going to make it seem like it's longer than it really is, but it's a very, very easy and quick, delicious dish to make that you can customize to your liking. So our oil, I'm just going to move our pan around a little bit just to get our oil moving. And I think it's pretty hot, so as you can see, I have our bowl with all of our ingredients, and I'm just going to add that to the pan. Yes, and it has a nice sizzle, so that is good. That means we were ready to go. So I want to step to the side just to make sure I get everything from the bowl in the inside. And look how pretty that is. And the thing about peppers, the colored peppers, they're sweet peppers, so they have a little sweetness to them. So if you don't really like peppers, they won't be so bitter and strong. And that's another reason we're cooking them ahead of time also. If we were to put them in there raw, put them inside the quiche raw, they would not cook all the way down, and they would have a strong bite to them, and we don't want that. So that's why we're going to cook them a little bit. And the thing with the broccoli, as it starts to cook, you will see the color turn a little bit greener, and that's how we know that it's almost ready. And we don't want to overcook it. So I'm just going to move it around in our pan a little bit. And for the chicken, I seasoned the chicken with a little bit of the no salt seasoning. I did a little bit of olive oil, and I let it marinate overnight, and then I grilled it on a cooktop. So I grilled it on the same cooktop. I just have a grill pan. You all can see I love this pan. I just have a grill pan, and that's what I grilled the chicken on. And I didn't add a lot of oil because, once again, when I grilled the chicken, it had oil, and I don't want to add too much oil to our quiche because we don't want it oily. I know you all can't smell it, but it smells really, really good. If you like onions, you can add onions to it. Spinach, kale, cauliflower, tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes. Sun-dried tomatoes are really good. Shrimp. I love a shrimp, crab, and spinach quiche. It's almost the same thing. So you would make sure that your shrimp is cooked. You can get fresh spinach that you don't have to saute down and add that to your mixture. And then you would have a spinach and shrimp quiche. Then you can add fresh crab to it as well. And if you notice, the color on our broccoli has changed. So I'll hold it up one so you can see. I want to make sure I get it so you can face the camera. Let's do it this way. So if you can see, the color on our broccoli has changed a little bit, and that's how we know it's starting to cook really well. And I'm going to turn this off because I think it's where I want it. Our peppers have softened, our chicken is heated through, and our broccoli has turned a nice vibrant green color. And because I didn't add a lot of oil, I sauteed the vegetables. And if you can see in the pan, all of that nice color in the pan. So that's our mixture, and we're gonna go ahead and get our eggs, and we'll put all of this together. Now we're going to get ready to put our quiche together. So we have our eggs. We're going to crack our eggs in the bowl, and we just have the same bowl that we had our veggies in. So we're going to crack our egg. So 1. And because this is a smaller quiche, we're going to do 4 eggs. So 3 to 4 eggs. We have our eggs, and we just want to take a whisk and whisk those up. Make sure that they're mixed good. Break up the yolk. Nice and mixed. We're going to add our seasoning. So I'm going to do just a couple of shakes. This is a no salt seasoning, so it has no salt. You can add salt if you like, but I would add the salt sparingly. So I'm doing about a teaspoon of seasoning. I'm going to whisk that in. And the all-purpose no salt seasoning has garlic and thyme and fresh herbs, so you'll get a lot of that inside of the seasoning, so you don't have to add too many different seasonings. And I'm going to do about a half a cup of the milk. I'm going to whisk that in. And I'll be honest with you all, my guilty pleasure is cheese. I love cheese, but I'm going to add a half a cup of the cheese. And I just have some shredded cheese. So I have a half a cup of the cheese. I'm going to whisk that in. That looks really good. I'm going to add just a little bit more cheese. So my guilty pleasure, so I add a little bit more cheese to it. Here we go. So just make sure I don't get any big pieces. Whisk that in. And remember, your chicken, if you do it ahead of time, has already been seasoned, so that's going to add some extra flavor to it as well. So all of that is mixed, and then we're going to add our chicken and our broccoli and peppers mixture. It's cooled down a little bit, so you just want to add that straight to your mix. Got a little steam coming off. And because we don't want to cook our eggs, we're just going to slowly fold this in just to make sure that it's mixed around. And because the eggs are cool, it's going to cool down. But if you all can see how good that looks with all those colors. And we're going to get this inside of our pie dish. So we have our pie dish here. Put that down, and we're just going to add the mixture to our dish. Want to get all of it in. So I'm going to scrape this bowl. And we just want to spread it all around evenly. It smells so good. And I just want to make sure like it's broccoli everywhere. So I'm going to move this guy over here, some over here, and we just got to make sure that everything is just spread around nice and evenly so that every bite has some vegetables, some chicken, and our cheese. See? And if you want to make it fuller, you can add more egg mixture, and I maybe just push our crust down just a little bit because it's going to rise up some as it bakes. And then this is going to go in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes at 350 degrees. So here we go. So it'll go in the oven, and then we'll take it out and we'll see our finished product. So we've taken our quiche out of the oven, and I let it cook about 30 minutes to be exact. So I did about 15 minutes on the middle rack in the oven, and then the last 15 minutes on the top rack in the oven. And it turned out really, really great. I hope you all enjoy this recipe. You can modify it as much as you like. You can add different vegetables and different proteins. If you have any questions about this recipe or any other food related items, definitely feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me on my website, which is www.chefvernetta.com. I am on Instagram at Chef Vernetta, and also Facebook, Chef Vernetta, as well as YouTube, Chef Vernetta. So any questions about anything that's just food related, if I can answer it, I would definitely be happy to help you all. And I just want to show it to you, and I'm going to show you, it's hot out the oven, so I have a oven rag or mitt holding it, but I will get a picture of it sitting down so you can all see what it looks like. But if you can see, we have our quiche with all of our vegetables and our chicken, and I think it turned out really, really nicely. And this is something, like I mentioned before, that you can make ahead of time and put in the refrigerator. You can use it for meal prep. This will cut to about, I'm gonna say 8 to 10 slices. And if you wanted to have it as a meal, you can, because you have your vegetables, you have your carb, and you have your protein as well. If you want to add a salad to the side of it, that's fine as well. Quiche can be served at room temperature. I like it hot, but it's totally up to you. And I think I mentioned before that quiche is old school, but it's making a comeback. So play around with it. You know, if you like seafood, add seafood to it. Any lean meats, any seasoning, less salt, but any seasoning that you would like to add, you can do that as well. Thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoy.